Heavenly Stories.
In the land of Judah, in the days when judges ruled, a famine gripped the hills of Bethlehem, turning fields to dust and hearts to despair. Elimelech, a man of modest means, looked upon his withering crops and made a heavy choice. With his wife, Naomi, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, he left behind the land of his fathers and journeyed to Moab, a foreign place where the earth still yielded bread. Naomi, her face lined with worry yet softened by hope, clasped her sons' hands, praying this new land would offer them life. Moab was strange, its people worshipped other gods, its customs felt sharp and unfamiliar. Yet Elimelech's family settled, building a home among strangers. The years passed, and tragedy struck like a sudden storm. Elimelech fell ill and died, leaving Naomi a widow in a land not her own. Her sons, now grown, took Moabite wives, Orpah and Ruth, women of gentle hearts who brought laughter to Naomi's grieving home. For a decade, they lived in fragile peace, until sickness claimed Mahlon and Chilion too. Naomi's world crumbled. Alone, childless, and widowed, she felt the weight of a life stripped bare. Word reached Naomi that the Lord had blessed Bethlehem with rain and harvests once more. Her heart stirred with longing for home, though she had little left to return to. She gathered Orpah and Ruth, her daughters-in-law, and spoke with a voice trembling but firm. "Go back to your mother's houses," she urged. "May the Lord grant you new husbands and full lives. I have nothing to offer you, only bitterness." Tears fell as she kissed them, her love for them warring with her desire to set them free. Orpah, weeping, embraced Naomi and chose to return to her people, her steps heavy with sorrow. But Ruth, her eyes fierce with devotion, refused to leave. "Do not ask me to abandon you," she said, her voice steady as stone. "Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, your God my God. Only death will part us." Naomi, struck silent by such love, could only nod. Together, they turned toward Bethlehem, 2 women bound by grief and loyalty, stepping into an uncertain dawn. The road was long, the sun relentless. Naomi's heart wrestled with guilt. Why would Ruth, young and full of promise, tie her fate to an old woman's? Ruth, though, walked with purpose, her heart anchored by a love deeper than duty. As they neared Bethlehem, the fields glowed gold with barley, and whispers of their arrival spread. The townsfolk, recognizing Naomi, gasped at her weathered face. "Is this Naomi?" they murmured. She shook her head, her voice raw. "Call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt me bitterness." Yet Ruth stood beside her, a quiet strength, as they entered the city, their future veiled in shadow but held by a fragile hope. Bethlehem buzzed with the rhythm of harvest, its barley fields swaying under a warm spring sun. Naomi and Ruth, weary from their journey, settled in a modest dwelling at the town's edge. Their stores were meager, and hunger loomed like an uninvited guest. Ruth, her spirit unbowed, turned to Naomi one morning, her eyes bright with resolve. "Let me go to the fields," she said. "I'll glean behind the harvesters, gathering what they leave. The Lord will provide." Naomi, her heart torn between fear and pride, blessed her, praying for safety in a land where foreigners were often scorned. Ruth set out at dawn, her headscarf shielding her from curious stares. She came to a field owned by Boaz, a man of wealth and kindness, kin to Naomi's late husband. Unknowing, Ruth bent low, gathering stray stalks of barley left by the reapers. Her hands moved swiftly, her heart humming with gratitude for each grain. The sun climbed high, and Boaz arrived to oversee his workers. His eyes fell on Ruth, her quiet diligence standing out amid the bustling field. "Who is she?" he asked his foreman. "She's the Moabite who came with Naomi," the foreman replied. "She asked to glean and has worked without rest." Boaz's heart stirred with respect. He approached Ruth, his voice gentle but carrying authority. "Stay in my fields," he said. "Glean among my workers, drink from our water, and fear no harm. I've heard of your loyalty to Naomi. Ruth, stunned, bowed low. Why show kindness to a foreigner, she asked. Boaz smiled. Your devotion to Naomi has reached my ears. May the Lord reward you. He ordered his men to protect her and to leave extra stalks for her to gather. Ruth worked until dusk, her bundle heavy with barley. She returned to Naomi, spilling out grain and stories of Boaz's generosity. Naomi's eyes widened, a spark of hope kindling in her heart. Boaz is our kinsman-redeemer, she said, her voice soft with wonder. The Lord has not forgotten us. She explained the ancient custom: a kinsman could redeem a widow's land and name, preserving her family's legacy. For the first time in years, Naomi felt the stirrings of a plan, though she kept it close for now. As days passed, Ruth gleaned in Boaz's fields, her presence a quiet blessing to the workers. Boaz watched her, his admiration growing. Naomi, meanwhile, prayed and pondered, her bitterness easing as she saw the Lord's hand at work. The harvest season stretched on, and Ruth's baskets overflowed, not just with grain but with the promise of something new. The bond between her and Naomi deepened, forged in shared struggle and unspoken dreams, as Bethlehem's fields whispered of hope reborn. The barley harvest gave way to the wheat, and Bethlehem's fields shimmered under summer's golden light. Ruth continued gleaning in Boaz's fields, her hands calloused but her spirit bright. Each evening, she and Naomi shared simple meals, their laughter softening the edges of their hardship. Naomi, watching Ruth's quiet strength, felt a growing certainty that the Lord was weaving a new story for them. One night, as stars blanketed the sky, Naomi spoke, her voice low and deliberate. Ruth, my daughter, she began, it's time to seek rest for you, a home, a future. Boaz, our kinsman, has shown you kindness. He's winnowing barley at the threshing floor tonight. Go to him, uncover his feet, and lie down. He'll understand. Ruth's eyes widened at the boldness of the plan. In Judah's customs, such an act was a humble request for a kinsman's protection, perhaps even marriage. Yet it carried risk, a woman, a foreigner, approaching a man alone. Ruth's heart raced, but her trust in Naomi was unshakable. I'll do as you say, she replied. Ruth bathed, anointed herself with oil, and dressed in her finest cloak, her step steady despite the flutter in her chest. The threshing floor lay beyond the town, alive with the hum of workers separating grain from chaff. Boaz, content with the day's labor, ate and drank with his men, then lay down by a heap of barley, the cool night air lulling him to sleep. Ruth approached silently, her breath shallow. With trembling hands, she uncovered his feet and lay down, her heart pounding as she waited. At midnight, Boaz stirred, startled to find a woman at his feet. Who are you? He asked, his voice thick with sleep. I am Ruth, your servant, she whispered. Spread your cloak over me, for you are a redeemer. Her words hung in the air, bold yet humble, asking him to claim his role as kinsman. Boaz's heart swelled with awe. Blessed are you, Ruth, he said. Your kindness surpasses all you've done before. All Bethlehem knows you're a woman of noble character. I'll redeem you, but there's a closer kinsman. If he refuses, I swear I'll do it. Boaz urged her to stay until dawn for safety, and Ruth slipped away before light revealed her. She returned to Naomi, her cloak heavy with barley Boaz had given her. He'll settle it today, Ruth said, recounting his words. Naomi's face lit with hope. Wait, my daughter, she said. Boaz is a man of action. As the sun rose, Boaz headed to the town gate, where elders gathered. Ruth and Naomi, bound by faith, waited, their hearts tethered to a future unfolding beyond their sight. Morning broke over Bethlehem, the town gate bustling with merchants and elders. Boaz, his jaw set with purpose, strode to the gate, his mind fixed on Ruth and Naomi. He spotted the closer kinsman, a man of means but lesser heart, and called him over. Sit with me, Boaz said, beckoning 10 elders to witness. The air hummed with anticipation as Boaz laid out his case, his voice clear and measured. "Naomi, widow of Elimelech, is selling his land," Boaz began. "You, as nearest kin, have first right to redeem it." The kinsman nodded, his eyes glinting with interest. Land meant wealth, status. But Boaz continued, his tone deliberate. "With the land comes Ruth, the Moabite, to raise up a name for the dead." The kinsman's face shifted, calculation clouding his gaze. Marrying a foreigner, raising another man's heir, it would tangle his inheritance. "I cannot redeem it," he said, slipping off his sandal, a custom sealing his refusal. Boaz turned to the elders, his heart soaring. "You are witnesses," he declared, taking the sandal. "I redeem Elimelech's land, and with it, Ruth, to be my wife." The elders blessed him, their voices rising, "May the Lord make her like Rachel and Leah, who built Israel's house." Word of the transaction spread, and Bethlehem stirred with talk of Boaz's honor and Ruth's faithfulness. Boaz, wasting no time, sent for Ruth and Naomi, his steps light with joy. Ruth, hearing the news, fell to her knees, tears mingling with gratitude. Naomi, her face radiant, clasped Ruth's hands. "The Lord has not abandoned us," she whispered. The women, once shadowed by loss, now stood in the light of redemption. Boaz and Ruth were wed in a simple ceremony, the town celebrating their union with songs and feasting. Naomi, no longer Mara, found her heart full, her bitterness swept away by love's triumph. As seasons turned, Ruth bore a son, Obed, his cries filling their home with life. The women of Bethlehem rejoiced, praising Naomi's restoration. "Your daughter-in-law, who loves you, is better than 7 sons," they said, cradling the child. Naomi, holding Obed, felt the Lord's hand weaving her pain into joy. Ruth and Boaz, their bond forged in kindness, watched their family grow, unaware their legacy would stretch to David, and beyond, to a Savior. The years softened Bethlehem's hills, and the story of Ruth and Naomi became a cherished tale, whispered in homes and sung at harvests. Ruth, now a mother, walked the fields with Obed, her heart full of gratitude for the God who led her from Moab's shadows to Judah's light. Boaz, his hair streaked with gray, worked alongside her, his kindness a steady anchor. Their home, once quiet, rang with laughter, a testament to love's enduring power. Naomi, her face etched with lines of joy, doted on Obed, teaching him the songs of Israel and the faithfulness of their God. The townsfolk marveled at her transformation, no longer calling her Mara but honoring her as a mother to a new generation. Ruth and Naomi's bond, forged in sorrow, grew deeper, their lives intertwined like vines. They shared quiet evenings, recounting the Lord's mercy, their voices mingling in prayer. Obed grew strong, his name meaning, servant, a fitting echo of Ruth's devotion. Unknown to them, he would father Jesse, and Jesse would father David, Israel's great king. Through their line, centuries later, a child would be born in Bethlehem, fulfilling promises whispered in Eden. Ruth, a foreigner, and Naomi, a widow, became threads in a divine tapestry, their story a beacon of hope for generations. The women of Bethlehem often visited, their children playing at Ruth's feet as they praised her courage. "You left all for love," they said, and Ruth would smile, her eyes on Naomi. "It was no sacrifice," she'd reply, "for love makes any road home." Boaz, hearing her words, would nod, his heart still stirred by her noble spirit. Their love, rooted in kindness, bloomed like the fields they once gleaned. As Naomi aged, Ruth cared for her, repaying a debt of love that needed no reckoning. When Naomi's days ended, Ruth mourned deeply, yet rejoiced in a life restored. The story of their loyalty spread beyond Bethlehem, carried by traders and scribes, etched into scripture for all time. Ruth and Naomi, bound by faithfulness, showed the world that love could conquer loss, and that God's hand moves even in the darkest nights.